Hello viewers, this is the part 15 of the series named Mastering OEM, and in this part we are going to learn how to upgrade an existing OMS or Oracle Management Server from release 13.4 to release 13.5 in an Oracle Linux platform. So in the last couple of tutorials, we covered a lot of things about OEM in a virtual learning environment using Oracle VirtualBox virtual machines, starting with installation of OEM 13.5 to configure, monitoring, and upgrade of the repository database, etc. I suggest you watch the previous tutorials in this series to get a better understanding on today's topic, which is about upgrading OEM, and this is in continuation of the last tutorial or part 14 where we upgraded the repository database from Oracle RDBMS version 18.3 to 19.3. So in our path to upgrade, in the last part, we already completed the upgrade of the repository database to Oracle RDBMS version 19.3. In this part, we will cover upgrade of the OMS from 13.4 to 13.5. And in the next part, we will upgrade the OEM agents from 13.4 to 13.5. I will demonstrate each and every step of the upgrade process, starting with how to search for the latest OEM version available to upgrade, how to download, going through the prerequisite checks, etc. in detail. Please note that I have described all the steps and the commands I am using in this tutorial in a shared document in my Google Drive. If you want, you can download the document using the link in the description of the video below. So without delaying further, let's start with upgrading an existing OMS 13.4 to 13.5 in a 64-bit Oracle Linux 7.9 platform. Since in this series we have been discussing about OEM 13.5 only, I wanted to include an upgrade to the next version greater than 13.5, but as of now, when this video is made, we have the 13.5 as the latest release of OEM, so I made this tutorial for the upgrade to 13.5 only. First, we will go to the Enterprise Manager download page from Oracle by searching the string in Oracle, that is Oracle Enterprise Manager downloads, and in the list we will select the second one, Oracle Enterprise Manager download. Let's open it in a different tab, and in this page we have to select this first one because our platform is Linux 64-bit, so we'll select this for Linux x86 64-bit. Let's click on that, and that will give us the next page where we can see these 5 individual files to download. The total size of these 5 files is around 8 gigs, and this will take around a couple of minutes based on your internet speed. I have already downloaded these files and also transferred to the software directory in my OEM server. So this is my OEM server or OMS server named admin server, and I have transferred all these 5 files to this location, U001 software OEM 13.5. Please note that the last file, this .bin file, is an executable, and you have to make sure that the executable bits are on. Now for the remaining steps, I will walk you through the implementation plan in the form of an Excel spreadsheet that I prepared. This implementation plan is very important, so you do not miss any step and mess with the upgrade process. It has the columns like serial number, tasks, status, any dependency, start time, end time, and the time needed to complete the step, and any technical notes. I have prepared this document after carefully going through all the upgrade documentations from my Oracle support for OEM 13.5 upgrade. I suggest before upgrade you should also go through the MOS documentations and prepare an implementation plan like this, so you don't miss anything specific to your environment. I already verified my implementation document, and if you want, you can download this and take it as a model plan for your environment. I have shared this plan using my Google Drive through a link which is given in the description of this video below. So I have divided this entire implementation plan to 4 sections. After going through a checklist of items, the first section in the implementation plan is the pre-implementation section, then the implementation section, then the post-implementation section, and finally the rollback section. The fourth and the rollback section is needed only when something goes drastically wrong and you want to roll back the upgrade process and go back to the previous working version of the OMS. So I will now explain each of the steps, and also I will continue to work on the upgrade process. Let me zoom in the document a little. Instead of zooming in and out every time, I will explain the lines verbally, and I suggest you download it and make changes as per your requirements before implementing it. So let's start. The first line: ensure that the host on which the OMS is being upgraded meets the hardware and software requirements. Now, if you are upgrading your existing OEM 13.3 or 13.4 system, then I assume that you already meet the hardware requirements, because 13.5 doesn't have any new hardware requirements. But in terms of software, we have to validate a couple of things. So to validate the software requirements, we will go to My Oracle Support, and I logged into My Oracle Support with my credentials, and then we'll go to this certifications tab, and under that, in the product, we will select Enterprise Manager Base Platform OMS, and the release is obviously going to be 13.5, and in the platform we will select any for now and click on the search button here. So it's going to give us a few very important information. First of all, the operating system requirements. It is giving us all the operating systems that is supported by 13.5, but our interest is this Linux x86 64-bit, and there we have to see the release that we are using is supported by OEM 13.5 or not. And we see that the Oracle Linux 7 is supported here, and because our OS platform is Oracle Linux 7.9, so we are good with it. Next, we'll go to the agent section. So expand this agent section, and under that we will see these 3 releases of agents supported by OEM 13.5, that is 13.5 itself, and agents of version 13.4 and 13.3 is also supported. So we are good with it. Then we'll go to this database section and expand it, and we have 2 things to validate here. This line, Oracle Database Managed Targets. In this line, we can see that OEM 13.5 supports 6 releases of Oracle RDBMS, that is Oracle 21c, 19c, 18c, 12.2, 12.1 and 11.204 also. Next one is the Oracle Database Repository. So 13.5 supports repository version of only 1, that is RDBMS 19. And in the last tutorial, we have already upgraded our repository RDBMS version from 18.3 to 19.3, so we are good with it. So this page gives us a lot of valuable information, and I suggest you also validate and cross-check the requirements here before upgrading your OEM system in your environment. Number 2, ensure that the repository database has the latest PSU or patch set update applied. I have already applied the latest PSU on my repository database, and I will not go deeper into this. Just as a DBA, you have to make sure that the latest PSU has been applied in your repository database. Number 3, verify that all the OMSs, including standby, have the same version of plugins deployed. Now, you may have a standby OMS system for disaster recovery, or you may have a clustered OEM system with multiple OMSs for load balancing or high availability. But in any case, you have to make sure that the plugin versions in all the OMSs are the same. You can validate that using this PL/SQL block that has been given by My Oracle Support. You can just copy it and paste it in a SQL Plus session connected using sysman user to the repository database. So I have already established a few sessions. The first one is an SSH session using Oracle user to the OEM server, and I also have one SQL Plus session as sys user and another SQL Plus session established using sysman user, and in this particular session I will just paste that PL/SQL block, and there is no mismatch found, so we are good. Item number 4, for any out-of-the-box plugins, you don't have to worry as the upgrade process will take care of the upgrading of or migrating the plugins in the new OMS. But if you have any add-on plugins like the ones listed below, then you have to download them from the Oracle using the link given in the description here and stage them in a location in the OMS server and refer to that location in the upgrade command. For example, I have downloaded these plugins marked in red here and staged them in the OMS server in a directory under software location, although that is just for demonstration and I am not going to use them in the upgrade process. I will just show you by going to our software location, U01 software, under that OEM 13.5, and under that there is a directory called plugins, and I have staged all these add-on plugins in this location. Item number 5, if you have any customized or foreign objects, for example materialized views created in the repository database, you have to drop them prior to the upgrade and you have to recreate them after the upgrade has been completed. And you can check that using this particular command, and we will go to our SQL Plus session that was established using sysuser, and we will see if there is any materialized view created apart from the one in the sysman schema, and we see that there is only one materialized view in the repository database and that belongs to the sysman, and we don't have to worry about this. Point number 6, if the repository database is on a rack, ensure that it's restarted before the upgrade and the database has to run as a single instance database. As our OEM system is using a single instance database, we don't have to worry about that. Item 7, as a best practice, always use VNC or remote access to a PC which is already inside the primary network to avoid any issues like VPN disconnection or user interface timeout, etc. during the upgrade that would need a restart of the upgrade from the beginning. So you have to make sure during the upgrade process your session is not timed out or there is no network disconnection. Number 8, disable the password verify functions on the repository database under default profile if needed. And we will check if there is any password verify function used using this particular SQL statement that I have given here, and we will go to the session that we established using sysuser and we'll simply run this SQL statement, and we see that the password verify function for the default profile is already null, so we don't have to worry about that. Point number 9, if you have any customized application rendering information from the repository database using the sysman or sysman related schemas, then please stop all these applications before starting the upgrade. For example, you may have some cron tabs which is extracting data from the repository database, or you are creating any reports using any third-party application by extracting the data from your repository database, then you have to stop all those applications or processes so that during the upgrade they are not going to extract any information from the repository database. Number 10, capture screenshots of OEM summary page with the pie chart and make sure the overview box is fully captured. This is just as a precaution so that you can compare the numbers before the upgrade and after the upgrade about how many targets are up, how many are down, how many are unreachable, how many are with some errors, etc. to make sure that the upgrade process does not introduce any new issues. And you may optionally capture the screenshots, like if you have Exadata targets, then you can take a screenshot of the Exadata page under the targets menu, and each Exadata database machines individually, the Golden Gate page under the targets menu, the e-business suite, the groups, incident rule sets, and services, etc. And you can paste the screenshots in the before upgrade sheet in this Excel. So I have two sheets here, screens before upgrade and screens after upgrade. For example, I have taken this screenshot with the pie chart before the upgrade so that I can compare these numbers after the upgrade. And I have additionally given one particular SQL statement to extract the status of all the individual targets in your OEM system so that you can make a comparison after your upgrade process is completed. I will just show you by running this SQL statement, and I will go to the session that I established to the repository database using sysuser, and I will simply paste this SQL statement, and that gives us a list of targets with their status. For example, it has the target type, target name, version, server, operating system, OS version, environment, availability status, and a report date, so that we can compare the status after the upgrade. So you have to copy this information, and I'll create a new sheet and I'll paste the output there so I can do a comparison later on. Number 11, you have to make sure that the optimizer adaptive features are disabled. Anyway, the Oracle database version 12.2 doesn't have this feature enabled, and in 12.1 it is disabled if a particular patch is applied, as our repository database version is already 19.3, so this particular parameter is disabled by default, and we just want to make sure that it is disabled, and we execute this show parameter optimizer adaptive features and we see nothing in the output. It means it is disabled. Number 12, also check the output of the SQL below for hidden parameters on adaptive features and reset them accordingly. So I have created this SQL statement here. You can run this SQL statement to find out if there is any hidden parameter set to enable any optimizer adaptive features. And I will simply copy this and I'll go to the session. Let's clear the screen. And I will simply paste the command, and it gives us a few parameters where we see there is a session value and an instance value. We just want to reset all these parameters, and we will set it back after our upgrade process is completed. So I have given the commands to disable them all. That is the alter system reset command here. I will simply copy them and I will go back to the session, and I have executed them all to disable all these hidden parameters related to optimizer adaptive features. Point number 13, ensure that the kernel parameters and security limits is updated to the following values before the upgrade. The first one is the file max, that is a kernel parameter, and the other two are soft limits on the number of files open and number of processes. And we can validate that by using this command first to see what is the file max value in our environment. So I am in the session that I established using Oracle user, and I'll simply put the cat this file /proc/sys/fs/file max, and I see that the value is much larger than what it is recommending, so we are good with it. And the next two parameters are soft limits for the number of files and number of processes, and for that we will simply cat the limits.conf file and we'll check the values for the Oracle user. Again, we'll go back to the Oracle user session to the server, and we'll cat the hc-security-limits.conf file and we'll grab the output only for Oracle user, and we see that the soft limit for number of file is 30,000 and the soft limit for the number of processes is 16,384, which is already meeting our requirement, so we are good with it. Number 14, ensure that the class path environment variable is unset prior to starting the upgrade. So there's a reference document where it is recommending to disable the class path variable, although it is related to the BI publisher report module in the OEM, but I just want to make sure that this class path is not set. We'll simply use the echo command for the class path variable, and we will see the output, which is blank. It means it is already unset. Number 15, if the entity sub Oracle GSM is present in software library, it could cause error during upgrade. So log into the repository as sysman user and execute the query to see if it provides any output. So I will simply copy this and I will go to the session that I established to the database using sysman user. Let's clear the output here and I will paste this SQL query here, and it returns no rows. It means we are good. Number 16, upgrading OMS on Windows requires Visual C++ 2010 and Visual C++ 2012 packages to be installed. As our OS platform is Linux, we don't have to worry about this. Number 17, if there are any role names with the leading or trailing spaces, it can cause error during OMS configuration. So execute the following query in the repository as sysuser to find out if there is any role name with leading or trailing spaces in its name. So I'll simply copy this SQL and go to the session that I established using sysuser. I will simply paste it, and the query output throws an error saying that the table or view does not exist. In fact, if the table does not itself exist in the database to give us this information, then we don't have to worry about that. Number 18, make sure that the sysman password has special characters not other than $# or the underscore character. So this is my personal experience that if the sysman user password has special characters other than these 3 characters, that is the $# and the underscore, then it throws an error during a release update application process. So I just want to make sure that this particular issue doesn't happen during the OEM upgrade. So I am suggesting not to have any special characters other than this $# and the underscore character in the sysman user's password. Now we have completed the checklist items before upgrade and entering into the pre-implementation plan. Step number 1, verify successful completion of RMAN full and archive log backups of the repository database. Point number 2, verify successful file system level backups or storage snapshots in the host. So this step is actually optional. You may or may not have a file system level backup, but if you have one, then it will add an extra layer of protection to your original setup. Please note that the OEM 13.5 upgrade process is an out-of-place upgrade. It means that the upgrade process will create a new 13.5 OMS home, leaving the original OMS 13.3 or 13.4 home intact. So you have the option to go back to the original OMS version in case the upgrade fails. Number 3, download OEM 13.5 software and transfer to the OMS host and change permissions of the .bin file to executable. So this step we have already completed. We have transferred all the installables to the U01 software OEM 13.5, this particular directory. And I have also given the command to set the executable permissions to the .bin file, which is actually the upgrade command. Number 4, download any plugins required to be stored locally in the OMS host. This step we have already performed by staging a couple of add-on plugins to the OMS host. Actually, this is just for demonstration, and we are not going to use that particular location to upgrade the plugins. Number 5, validate storage. OEM home file system should have free space more than the current OMS home size. This is important because almost all of the things that is inside the current OMS home will be copied to the new OMS home, that is the 13.5 home. So you have to make sure that at least the file system hosting the OMS home has equal or a larger amount of free space than the size of the current OMS home. And we will validate that by going to the SSH session that we established to the OMS host using Oracle user. I will first check the size of the OMS home, that is the 13.4 OMS home, by going to the parent folder /u01 app Oracle, and we have this EM13.4, this particular directory, which is the parent directory of the middleware home or the OMS home, we'll do a du -sh to see its size, and we see that the size is 34 gigs. And now we'll check the file system space available in U01, and we see that it has 64 gigs free. So we have a lot of free space to accommodate the new 13.5 home. Number 6, validate storage. That is, the fast recovery area or FRA should have the capacity to keep 3 days worth of archive log and flashback log files. This step is required. Say in the first impression, you found that your upgrade is working fine, but later on, after a couple of days, you realize that something is wrong and you really want to go back to the previous version. In that case, it becomes really easy if you have a flashback restore point to restore the database quickly, and for that, you will really need a large amount of space in the FRA. So I'm suggesting at least you should have that much space to keep 3 days worth of archive logs and flashback log files. I have given 2 queries here. The first one is to see the current usage of the FRA, and the second query is to check the average daily generation of archive logs. So I will first see the output of the first query by going to the SQL Plus session that I established using sysuser. Let's clear the screen, and I will simply paste the query. And here I can see that the current recovery area size is 150, that is the target size. Used is 28 gigs, which is just 19%. So we still have 122 gigs of free space. And I'll also use the second query to see the daily average generation of archive logs. And here I can see that daily average archive log generation is around 2.3 gigs. So we have ample amount of space in the FRA to keep the restore point in the database for a couple of days. Number 8, create a temp directory that has at least 12 gigs free space if the traditional /temp location does not have enough space. So this is also optional. If your traditional temp file system has at least 12 gigs of free space, and I'll check the previous output where I see that the current size of the temp file system is 12 gigs, and out of that only 34 MB is used, and we are good with the temporary file system size. Although I am mentioning that you need at least 12 gigs of free space in the temp directory or temp file system, I strongly suggest you have 15 gigs free space in that location to avoid any kind of issues during the upgrade. Point number 9, remove any obsolete plugins. So I have given a couple of plugins here. If they are used in your OEM system, then you have to remove them as they are obsolete. Anyway, during the upgrade process, if you still have any obsolete plugins still installed or deployed on any of the targets, then the upgrade process will ask you to remove it before proceeding. Number 10, synchronize the OMS and the repository. This is an important step to synchronize the external configuration in the OMS with the repository settings, and we will do that using the command emcli login -username equals to sysman. I'll simply copy this command, and I will go to the SSH session that I established using Oracle user to the OMS server. And before executing the command, just want to make sure that our environment is set. And the emcli command being used is coming from the middleware home bin directory, so we are good. Now I'll simply paste it, that is emcli login -username equals to sysman, and it will ask for the password. Provide the password and the login successful, and we will use emcli sync command to perform the synchronization, which will take a couple of seconds. and the synchronization has been successfully completed. Number 11, disable any external batch or cron jobs used with OEM like data extract, etc., OMS up-down monitoring, etc. So you may have some external scripts to see if the OMS is down or up. And also you may have any cron jobs to extract the data. Now it's time to disable all of them before the upgrade. Number 12, uninstall any incompatible agent that is not going to be supported by the new upgraded OEM system. So during our OS platform and software validation, we have found that the OEM 13.5 supports only 3 versions of the agent software, that is 13.3, 13.4, and the 13.5, of course. Now, suppose you have an older system and you are still using a 13.2 agent, and that agent is not going to be supported by your new OEM system after upgrade. So you have to either upgrade that agent or completely decommission that agent before the upgrade. Number 13, make sure all the table spaces in the repository database are below warning threshold, and at least one data file from each of the table spaces below has the auto extend on. And these table spaces are undo, system, any table space with the name mgmt, and the temp table space. And I have given the command here to find out if at least one of the data files that belong to each of these individual table spaces has the auto extend on. So we will go back to our SQL Plus session that was established using the sys user. Let's clear the screen, and then I will simply paste it. And here we can see that all these 3 mgmt table spaces have the auto extend on along with the system, temp, and the undo TBS 1. So we are good with it. Number 14, make sure that the database compatible parameter for the repository database is set to a version supported for OEM 13.5. That is, if your repository database version is 19.3, then the compatible parameter in the repository database should also be 19.0.0 and not lower than that. And you can check the compatible parameter value using the commands given, and if required, you can set it using the second command here. And that ends the pre-implementation section of our upgrade process. Now we will enter into the implementation plan. Number 1, prior to upgrade, the EM key must be copied into the repository. And after the upgrade, the EM key must be secured, which removes it from the repository. Actually, it's a security measure. And if you copy the enterprise manager key to the repository, then it's kind of exposed, but it's a requirement for the upgrade process. So once your upgrade process is done, you have to again send it back from the repository to its original location, and thereby securing the EM key. So I will first copy this command, that is the emctl config em key minus copy to repos. I will go back to the SSH session, and we will execute the command here. And it will ask for the sysman password, which is provided, and it takes about a minute, and the EM key has been copied to the management repository. And it's also giving some additional information like this operation will cause the EM key to become unsecure. After the required operation has been completed, secure the EM key by running the emctl config em key remove from repos. And we are going to perform this step after our upgrade is done. Let's go back to the plan again. Step number 2, export OMS configuration. So it is an extra protection layer that I have introduced. That is, the OMS configuration can be backed up into a file, and we want to do that before the upgrade process is done, so that in the event of any failure, we have a copy of the configuration. To do that, we will do the emctl export config OMS, this particular command, and I am also giving a sample output here. So I'll just copy this command and go back to the SSH session, simply paste it, and this is also going to take a couple of minutes, and it will ask for the sysman password first. Let's provide it. I'm pausing the recording here, and I'll come back once the export config is complete. And after around 6 minutes, the export config has been successfully completed, and it has also given us the backup location. If you want, you can copy this backup directory to another safe location. Step number 3, stop all OMS components and the management agent in the OMS host. And we will do that by using the emctl stop OMS -all command. Let's go back to the OS prompt and clear the screen and paste the emctl stop OMS -all command. That will bring down all the OMS components. This will again take a couple of minutes, and I will pause the video and I'll come back once the command is complete. And the command to stop all the OMS components has been successfully completed. And we will also stop the agent by going to the agent home bin directory. To do that, first we will find out what is the agent home using the command ts -ef grep em agent, and we see that it's this particular directory. So we'll go to u01 app oracle agent 13c agent underscore 13.4.0.0.0, and under that it's the bin directory that has the emctl command for the agent. So emctl stop agent, using this command we will stop the management agent in the OMS server, and the agent has been stopped. Number 4, once you stop all OMS components before starting the upgrade, make sure no active sysman sessions are running in the repository database, and we can validate that by using this particular SQL statement that I have given. I'll just copy it and I will go back to the SQL Plus session that I established using sysuser, and I'll just paste it. And in the output, I see there are a couple of sys sessions. There is one sysman session which is inactive, and apart from that there is nothing. And this sysman session is nothing but the other session that we established using SQL Plus, so we can ignore it. Number 5, once confirmed that there is no sessions or jobs are running and the OMS is stopped, copy or take a tar backup of the OMS and the agent home, including the software library. So I have given the commands here, and this is also optional. If you have a file system level backup that is running as per the schedules, then you don't have to worry about that. But if you want to have an extra layer of protection, you can still copy the software library, the OMS home, and the agent homes. Number 6, take backup of the inventory. And this step is also optional if you have a file system level backup. Step number 7, take an export backup of any custom schema in the repository database. For example, I have a report data schema in my OEM repository database that I use as a staging schema to store some data from the OEM repository main schema, that is the sysman schema, and I have given the expdp command here to take a consistent backup of that particular schema. Step number 8, take a count of schema-wise invalid objects in the OEM repository database. So I have given here a few SQL statements which can be used to find out if there is any invalid objects in the repository database, so that you can compare them after the upgrade is complete and make sure that there is no new invalid objects introduced after the upgrade activity. We'll simply run the first statement and we'll go back to the session that we established using sysuser, clear the screen. I pasted the query and see that no rows returned means there is no invalid objects in the repository database. So we don't have to run the second SQL statement here. Step number 9, perform 5 log switches and then create a guaranteed restore point and validate. So this is again to make sure that you have a foolproof backup of the repository database, and that's the reason I am switching the log files. And after that, you should initiate one archive log backup of the repository database and create a guaranteed restore point. So I will simply copy this command, alter system switch log file, and I will go back to the sys session and I'll simply paste the alter system command 1 time, 2 time, 3 time, 4 times, and 5 times I execute it. And then I will create a guaranteed restore point using the second command given here, create restore point RP before upgrade 13.5 guarantee flashback database. I just copied and pasted the command here in the sys session, and the restore point has been created. We can validate the restore point using the SQL statement given here from the $restore point, this particular dynamic performance view. And we see that the RP before upgrade 13.5 has been created on today's date. And in this case, if you see any other granted restore points, you may want to drop them. For example, I have another granted restore point that was created a couple of months back, so I am just going to drop it. Drop restore point. The restore point has been dropped. Number 10, disable any logon triggers in the repository database. So first we have to find out if there is any logon trigger available and enabled in the database using this query. I will copy the SQL commands one by one and execute them in the sys session. And we see that the first one is giving a count of a trigger. It means we have at least one logon trigger in the database, and we will find out that trigger is enabled or not using the second query. And we see that the trigger name GSM logoff is in an enabled state. And then using the third query, we will find out who is the owner of that query. And we see that the owner is GSM admin underscore internal. And then we will disable the trigger using the command that I have given here, alter trigger GSM admin internal.gsm logoff disable. And the trigger has been disabled. And once our upgrade activity is completed, we will enable it again. Now, step number 11, which is the main step of upgrading the OEM or the OMS, that is start the upgrade process by running the OEM 13.5 installer, that is the .bin file in GUI, and the upgrade process should take around 2 to 4 hours depending on how big your target base is and the server performance. So I have given a couple of options there. And you have to first change directory to the location where we saved our installable files. And this export display variable is optional. If you are using an SSH client like MOBA Xterm, then you don't have to export the display variable. But if you are using other SSH client like PuTTY or something, then you may have to export the display variable. And the other three options are, like if the default temp directory or the file system has enough free space, that is at least 12 gigs of free space, and no additional add-on plugins are present in your OEM, then this is the simple command, that is we have to invoke the .bin file to start the upgrade process in GUI. If the default temp file system has enough free space, but you have add-on plugins, then you have to start the upgrade process using the same bin file, but you have to add an additional parameter, that is the plugin location equals to the directory or the path where your .opr or the downloaded plugin files are staged, as I described that before. And the third option, if the default temp directory doesn't have enough space, and also we have the extra add-on plugins, then first we have to export the TMP, this environment variable, and we have to point it to that directory which we have additionally created with enough free space, and also export the variable tmpdir, which is pointing to the same location. And then we have to invoke the .bin file, with this particular parameter, that is -j -djava.io.tempdir, which will point to the same location. And also we have to add the plugin location, which will point to the staging area for the plugins. Now in our case, we will simply execute the first command here. First, we will change directory to the location where we kept the upgrade installables. So we will go back to the Oracle session that we established to the OMS server, and we'll change directory to the software location, and then we have to invoke this bin file, which will bring up the graphical user interface of the upgrade. Before I hit enter and invoke the upgrade GUI, I want to tell you that in this demo, although I have met all the prerequisites and conditions for the OEM 13.5 upgrade, in your environment, you may still miss some of this that is specific to your environment. But in any case, if you miss any conditions to be fulfilled, the upgrade process will provide the details about it and will give the opportunity to fix it either automatically or manually before proceeding further. And as I am using MOBA Xterm, so I don't have to set the display variable because the X server is enabled by default. You can check that by just putting the cursor over this X server button, where I can see that the display variable is already set with the proper IP address. So I can simply hit enter on this execution of the bin file. And it will first extract the installer from the zip files included, which is going to take a couple of minutes. And the GUI has come up. And here we have two options: create a new enterprise manager system, and the second, upgrade an existing enterprise manager system. So we have to select the second option. And then again, under the upgrade, we have two options here. First one, upgrade end-to-end, and second, upgrade software only with plugins and configure later, which is selected by default. And we have to select the first one here, that is upgrade end-to-end, because we are going to upgrade our existing 13.4 OMS system to 13.5. And we have to select the Oracle home for the 13.4 OMS, which is listed below, and then click next. And in this screen, we will skip the search for updates and then click next. In this screen, it's going to check the prerequisites and any requirements, and it will give us a final status on all the checks, where we see that everything is succeeded except one, that is checking for the required kernel parameter. And let's check what is missing here. And we see that the checking for the IP local port range from 11,000 to 65,000 is actually overridden by our settings of 9,000 to 65,500. So actually we can ignore it because we have a greater range than the recommended range. So we will simply ignore it and click on the next button. Now it is asking for the middleware home location, and this is the new middleware home that is going to be created for us. So what we are going to do, we have to browse for our file system first, that is the U01 app Oracle. So we have to create a new directory here. So we'll click on this create a new folder, and we will put a name that is OEM 13.5, and this is going to be our new directory for OMS, that is OMS 13.5. And under that, we will create another directory named middleware, and we will select that. So the middleware home location we are specifying is a completely new one, that is under OEM 135. It is the middleware directory, and click on the next button. In this screen, it's asking for the sys password and the sysman password. So I'll provide the sys password and for the sysman, and as a precautionary step, it's asking to confirm that we have taken a backup of the management repository. I will check this. And we have another option here, disable DDMP jobs. It's related to deferred data migration. If you are planning to do any kind of maintenance after the upgrade is complete, then you can check this. As we are not planning to do any kind of post-upgrade maintenance, so we'll leave it like this. Click next. And then it will perform some database related prerequisite checks, which will take a couple of seconds. And in the output, we can see there are two warnings. The first one is related to redo log size, where it is recommending at least a size of 300 MB per redo log file. Our OEM system is a test system, so we can safely ignore this recommendation. The second one is related to MD5 certificate uses. If you are using MD5 for encryption in your OMS or in your environment, you can check the uses of the certificate or update them accordingly. In our case, we can safely ignore it. And then we will click on the next button. Then it is giving us some information. And these are nothing but general recommendations, like you should apply the latest patches on the repository database, the JVMD engine and the management agent in the OMS server is down, and also that the BI publisher server or BI publisher reports is no longer configured with the OEM 13.5, etc. So if you have BI publisher reports configured and you have reports generated through the BI publisher report, then you have to either migrate them to a different reporting software, or you have to use Oracle Analytical Server or OAS to migrate all the BI publisher reports to them before you upgrade your OMS from 13.4 to 13.5. We will simply click on the OK button here. And then it is giving a list of plugins that it is going to automatically upgrade, which includes the Exadata, the Oracle Storage Management Framework, Oracle Database, Fusion Middleware, Big Data Appliance, and Cloud Framework, and also System Infrastructure. So we will simply click on the next button here. In this screen, it is saying select the additional plugins you want to deploy while upgrading the Enterprise Manager system. So if you want, you can introduce any new plugins in your new environment by selecting the appropriate option here. I don't want to select any new plugins in my new environment because anyway, if required, I can install the plugins at a later time when the requirement arises. So I will simply click on the next button here. In this screen, it is asking for the WebLogic password. So this is something that you must remember. The password for the WebLogic user in your old 13.4 environment. I will provide the WebLogic password here, which is WebLogic123, and we'll click on the next button here. In this screen, it is giving a summary before starting the upgrade process to validate if everything is good. And we are okay with that, and then we will click on this upgrade button to start the upgrade. In this screen, we can track the progress of the upgrade, and this list of detailed status will keep increasing as it enters into new sections. And you can also click on this view log link to see the logs, what's going on behind in detail. So this process is going to take anything between 2 to 4 hours based on the server performance and the size of your source OEM system. So I will pause the video time to time, and I'll come back whenever there is something worth to be explained or mentioned. 57% completed, 73% done, 86% completed, and after around 2.5 hours, the upgrade has been completed and it's asking us to run the root script. So we'll just copy the root script location, and then we will establish one session to the OMS server as root. and then we'll just paste the root script along with the path, that is the U01 app Oracle EM 13.5. This is the new OMS 13.5 base location, and then the middleware home, and under that it is the allroot.sh that we are going to run as root, and that has been completed. Let's go back and then simply click OK, and it has given a summary of the upgrade process. If you want, you can copy this to a text file. I will simply copy this to the Excel plan document and paste it in a separate tab, because it has some useful information in case we need it in the future. And then we will close this upgrade program. So we have completed the OEM upgrade process with the step number 11, and next, the step number 12 we didn't have to execute. It's related to detecting any stuck jobs which is causing the upgrade process to take a very long time, like 6 to 7 hours. The SQL statement to detect and clear the stuck jobs are given from my Oracle support, which is given here. So we don't have to execute them anymore because our upgrade has been successfully completed within the expected time period. Next, step number 13, check the status of the new upgraded OMS by logging to the console. So we will go to our browser, and our OEM console was already open, and we'll just refresh this page and ignore this connection not private warning, and then we'll click to proceed. Click on the retry button. That should give us the new OEM 13.5 console login page. We will log in as sysadmin user. In terms of the user interface, you will not see much difference in the OEM 13.5 than the previous 2-3 releases, and the console access URL, port, etc. everything will remain the same. We'll see the new license agreement for 13.5. Click on the I accept button, and the enterprise summary has been displayed successfully. Now I'll go to the sysadmin menu, then click on the About Enterprise Manager, and here now we can see that the Enterprise Manager Cloud Control is version 13c release 5. So we have successfully completed the upgrade process. Click on the close button here. Now we'll go back to our implementation plan for the remaining steps in the post-implementation section. Step number 1 in the post-implementation section, that is set auto extend off for the data files for which it was turned on before. If in your environment you are not turning the auto extend on for the data files and you just turn it on as a requirement for the upgrade process, then it's time for you to switch off the auto extend property for the data files. And this step will include changing back any initialization parameters or hidden parameters that was changed before the upgrade with their original values. Step number 2, test a tablespace alert for a production database. It's just to make sure that after the upgrade, all your alerting mechanism that was in place before is still in a working condition. To do that, you can test a tablespace alert to make sure that your alerting system is working fine. Step number 3, start the agent in the OMS server which was brought down before upgrade. Actually, this you don't have to execute because the upgrade process will automatically start the agent. But if it is down for some reason, you can bring it up using the emctl start agent command. Please note that our agent is still in version 13.4. To validate that, we'll go back to our SSH session that we established using the Oracle user. We'll clear the screen and do a psef grep em agent command, where we can see that the agent process is running and the home still is 13.4. We will go to that location and under that the bin directory, and we'll execute emctl status agent command, and we can see that the agent is running and communicating to the new OMS 13.5 successfully, and it also uploaded data recently. Step number 4, update the environment setup script or the .bash profile of the Oracle user with the new updated 13.5 paths. So if you are automatically setting up the Oracle user's shell with the path of the 13.4 home before, so that you don't have to mention the path every time you execute the emctl, emcli commands, etc., then it's time for you to change those paths on those scripts or the .bash profile file of the Oracle user at this point. So we will go back to the SSH session, and then we'll open the .bash profile for the Oracle user using the VI editor, and here we have to modify a couple of things here. If it is still pointing to the old middleware home or the old 13.4 OMS, then we will simply change it to 13.5. We found one path there and we updated that accordingly. Then save this, and then we'll go back to our post implementation plan. Step number 5, restore cron tab from the backup taken before upgrade. If you disabled any cron jobs so that it doesn't interrupt the upgrade process, now it is time for enabling those cron jobs again. Step number 6, once the upgrade is successful, check the status and secure the EM key using the emctl status EM key to check the status, and then remove it from the repository as we discussed this before. So we will simply copy the emctl status EM key, this particular command, and we will go back to our Oracle session, and we'll execute the .bash profile first so that the new environment is set up, and then we'll clear the screen, check which emctl command is being used using which emctl, and we see that it is coming from the new EM 13.5 home, so we are good. Now you can paste the command emctl status EM key, and it will ask for the sysadmin password, and I provided the password, and it says that the EM key is configured properly. Now the next thing we have to do is to remove it from the repository which was copied before the upgrade. So emctl config EM key minus remove from repos. This is the command. It will again ask for the sysadmin password. We'll provide it and wait for the removal to complete. And we get the status here. The EM key has already been removed from the management repository. Let's go back to the plan. Step number 7, enable any logon triggers in the repository database that was disabled before. If you remember, we disabled one logon trigger before the upgrade. Now we have to enable it. And we still have the command alter trigger gsm admin internal.gsm logoff. This was the trigger that we disabled. So we'll go back to the SQL Plus session that we established using the sys user alter trigger, and the trigger has been enabled again. Step number 8, enable any password verify function that was disabled before. And this step we performed before, and we were not able to find any password verify function for the default profile. So we have nothing to do here. Step number 9, capture screenshots of the pages for which screens before upgrade sheet was populated and compare them for differences. And this has ended the post-implementation section of the implementation plan. Now, the last section that I mentioned before as the rollback plan, this is only for the situation when your upgrade did not complete successfully or it failed, and you want to roll back the entire upgrade activity and go back to the previous working state of your OMS. And I have given a text document here which has the steps required to perform this rollback activity. I will briefly explain it, how to perform the rollback. First of all, we have to stop all the OMS components if it is still running, and then we will find out the guaranteed restore point that we created, and we will flash back the database to that guaranteed restore point. Once your database has been restored or flashed back to the guaranteed restore point, we will do a reset log to open the database. And then if your old 13.4 or 13.3 home for the OMS is still present, then you will go back to the bin directory under the middleware home, and there you have to execute the emctl command to start up the OMS. So there are a couple of specific steps that you have to follow to start the OMS. That is, first one, initiate repository resync. And the command to do that is emctl resync repos -full -name, and you have to provide this string here, resync after upgrade rollback. And once this particular step is successfully completed, you will go to the next step, that is start the OMS instance, that is emctl start OMS. And once you see this output, like all the individual components are successfully brought up, then you can safely say that you have rolled back the upgrade activity. And log into the cloud control, go to the setup menu, then manage cloud control, health overview, and under that you'll be able to see the OMS and repository menu. Select the repository synchronization from that menu, and that will synchronize the repository with the OMS. And if there is still any agent with a broken communication, then there are a couple of steps to follow. You have to first see the status of the agent, then stop the agent, clear state the agent, secure the agent again, start agent, upload agent, then you can check the status of the agent again, and then validate by pinging the OMS using the ping OMS command, and then the verify key. All these commands are executed under the main command emctl. These are just options. And that way you can successfully roll back a failed upgrade activity. So this is how we can successfully upgrade an existing OEM 13.3 or 13.4 system to the latest OEM 13.5. And I hope the implementation plan that I shared in this video will be useful for you. So viewers, please provide your feedback in the comment section of the video and hit the like button if you found it useful. That will mean a lot to me and help grow this channel.